Donald Trump once made fun of Kamala Harris for giving the same speech at each one of her rallies. The problem is, Donald Trump gives mostly the same speech at each one of his rallies. Now, he might change it up every now and again, but for the most part, he's talking about the same things in the same way every time he speaks. But as we move closer to the 2024 election, Donald Trump has been adding new tidbits here and there to his stump speech. And what he said in Mosinee, Wisconsin a few days ago should terrify each and every one of us, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. Now, we will look at exactly what he said in just a little bit, but let's first look at some other portions from this speech and assess some of the crazy things Trump is still saying when he's talking to his people. We can go ahead and kick things off by looking at some Project 2025 rhetoric. How about that? Let's go ahead and take a look.
We're going to cut the fat. There is so much fat, you won't even know it's gone. Fifth, we will drain the government education swamp and stop the abuse of your taxpayer dollars to indoctrinate America's youth with all sorts of things that you don't want to have our youth hearing. Ultimately, we'll live, and you know what we're doing here. I say it all the time. I'm dying to get back to do this. We will ultimately eliminate the Federal Department of Education and send education back to Wisconsin and back to the states.
So aside from Donald Trump's obvious brain glitch that we just witnessed, this idea is straight out of Project 2025. Now, Trump has tried very hard to distance himself from Project 2025, but when most of the people who wrote the plan and most of the people who you are going to bring back into a second administration have such close ties to you, and on top of that, you're talking about ideas directly from the mandate for leadership, it's really hard for us to believe, Donald, that you have no connection to Project 2025. And this idea is absolutely insane. They want to abolish the Department of Education. And then he says, well, we're going to kick it back to the states. I don't know if he thinks that that is just like some magic bullet where he thinks he can get away with it. But this is a bad idea. I think Trump knows it's a bad idea. It is not a popular idea outside of the MAGA lunatics. So it's not super surprising that he's talking about this stuff. But let's keep on reminding people that this is an idea that's directly from Project 2025. Let's go ahead and move on to him talking about how he wants to involve Robert F. Kennedy into some chronic health panel or agency. This might even be more terrifying than the first thing. In no world do I want RFK to have any say over public health policy. I think that that would be absolutely insane.
We will establish a panel of top experts to investigate what is causing the decades-long increase in chronic health problems and childhood diseases, including the autoimmune disorders, autism, obesity, infertility, and much more. And Bobby's going to be very much involved in that. We're going to get him involved because that's what he likes. That's what he's great at.
So as most of you probably know, RFK is a fervent anti-vaxxer. He has said some wild things, especially about the COVID-19 vaccines and how they are targeting certain groups of people, or that they were built in such a way to go after certain types of DNA. This guy is batshit insane, and I want him nowhere near America's public health policy. Only bad things could come from that, it seems to me. Now, I told you that Donald Trump had said something that we should all be terrified of, and I'm going to play that for you now, and then we will discuss. Let's go ahead and listen to him talk about mass deportations, and let's just go ahead and see what he says.
Colorado's one state. It's much worse in other states. But in Colorado, they've taken over. I mean, in Colorado, they're so brazen, they're taking over sections of the state. And, you know, getting them out will be a bloody story. Should have never been allowed to come into our country. Nobody checked them. Nobody checked. Were they criminals? Were they from jails? We have them pouring out from jails. We have the worst criminals in All of these countries, 168 so far are registered, 168 countries, they're in our country, and they said, if you come back, you will be executed, you will be killed immediately. Not going to be easy, but we'll do it.
If you come back, you're going to be executed immediately. Things will be bloody. It's not going to be easy, but we'll do it. I continue to talk on this because I think it's absolutely important. Mass deportations would be an absolute stain on the character of this country, on the moral fiber of this country. Do you want armored trucks rolling into neighborhoods, beating on people's doors, and ripping parents away from their children? Because that's what mass deportations are going to look like. And now they're talking about setting up camps. Things really might start to look like late 30s, early 40s Germany. Is that something that we want here in America? Not only will it crush our economy, but inflation will be out of control. If you're talking about ripping 20 million people out of this country, and you think that's going to have no deleterious effects on our economy, on the fabric of our society, I think you are sorely mistaken. We do not want to be rounding up people into camps. We do not want to be tearing children away from their parents. We do not want to be tearing these people away from their jobs and their... It's an absolutely bonkers idea. And for Trump to openly admit that this is going to be a bloody endeavor, I think is terrifying. Well, let's go ahead and get a little bit of a palate cleanser from that. As terrible as mass deportations would be, and it is my hope that that will never come to fruition. That's why we are out here talking about how bad Trump would be in a second term. But let's go ahead and take a look at him talking about mental institutions again. This is another thing that we hear from Trump from like all of his rallies. He talks about mental institutions, asylums, and then, of course, you guessed it, Hannibal Lecter. Let's go ahead and take a look.
The mental institutions are being emptied out, and insane asylums. And then the press, when I say Dr. Hannibal Lecter, the press says, oh, why did he mention that? They're wise guys back there, just wise guys. They say he rambled and started talking about Hannibal Lecter. What does that have to do? That's a representative of people that are coming into our country. Dr. Hannibal Lecter, he will have you for dinner. You know that? He will.
So I know this is probably getting old to a lot of people, but I just think it is so wild that he continues to tell this story and that this is how his brain works. The more and more we hear Trump talk about asylums, Hannibal Lecter, and yada yada, the more I think that Donald Trump doesn't know that there's a difference between somebody seeking asylum and an insane asylum. These are two separate things, Donald. I literally think that he cannot distinguish between those two things. I think he thinks that these things mean the same thing, and so when he hears that people are coming here to seek asylum, he's somehow crafting this story that other countries are emptying their insane asylums to our southern border. It just makes absolutely no sense, and it still blows my mind that he continues to tell this story. Let's go ahead and move on to this new conspiracy that Donald Trump has started telling, where he says that schools are now taking children away and giving them sex change operations. No joke. This is a conspiracy that he has now told a couple different times.
Kamala supports states being able to take minor children and perform sex change operation, take them away from their parents, perform sex change operation, and send them back home. Can you imagine you're a parent and your son leaves the house and you say, Jimmy, I love you so much. Go have a good day in school. And your son comes back with a brutal operation. Can you even imagine this? What the hell is wrong with our country? Her running mate, Tampon Tim. Did you see he signed a bill where tampons will be in every boy's bathroom? Isn't that nice?
I don't know what a tampon is, but like I said, this is another thing that Donald Trump has been saying. I think he said it a few different times now. But in no world would it be okay for a school to take a child and go do some medical operation on them and then give them back to the parents. That's why it is so insane that he is even bringing up this notion as though it exists, as though this is something that the Democrats actually want to do. This is another way that he can belittle or dehumanize or whatever his tactic is here. He wants you to think that Democrats are crazy because these are the types of ideas that they would want to implement if Kamala Harris is elected. But nobody I know, I have not even heard of crazies on Twitter talking about how it would be okay for schools to take children and give them medical operations. This makes absolutely no sense. And Donald Trump, this is all he's got. He's not rallying against our policies. He doesn't bring those up. So instead, he makes up stories. He crafts conspiracy theories to build this world that people are so scared of that they want to go out and vote in November. That is the overall tactic. That is what he is doing here. That's why he always says, you're not going to have a country anymore. We're a failing nation. Only I can fix it. He crafts these worlds with such delusional thinking, but for some reason, his MAGA supporters, I don't know if they really think it's true, if they're afraid of it becoming true. I just don't know how anybody can listen to this and think that Donald Trump is being serious, or think that these are serious ideas that Democrats would actually want to implement. We are not insane people. These are insane ideas that you are espousing, and then putting them on us so people are scared of us. This is why people call you a divisive person, Donald. Make up stories that aren't true to undermine, discredit, and belittle the other side. And of course, it wouldn't be a Trump rally unless he was talking crap about America. Because this is what Donald Trump does. Every time he talks, that's probably about accurate.
From everywhere, they're getting rid of their criminals. They're bringing them into the United States of America, our beautiful country, our now failing country. It's a failing country under these lunatics. And they're bringing them in at levels that nobody's ever seen before. Ron Johnson sees it. He sees it all the time, and he gets sick over it. But we're going to do something about it, Ron. We're going to get it done. We have to. We have no choice. It's not like we have a choice. Not like we can say, oh, well, we'll live with it. You can't live with it because you're going to be killed. These are killers. But from all over the world, you take a look at the crime statistics. You take a look at the jail statistics. The jails are being emptied out.
And we can go ahead and stop it there. This is just another bit that Donald Trump does to try to dehumanize immigrants. He applies this bad behavior, these scary talking points to all immigrants. That way, when he comes in and wants to start those bloody mass deportations, that his people might be a little bit more open to the idea. This is absolutely disgusting stuff. I think we should expect more from our presidential candidates. And it just blows my mind that Donald Trump is even this close to becoming president again. My brain is having trouble computing, honestly. Kamala Harris should be up by at least 10, 15 points. But it's a close race. So make sure you get out there and vote this November. So that's going to do it for me on this one, folks. If you got anything out of this video, if you could remember to smash that like button and hit subscribe. Maybe share it with a friend or two. I'd very much appreciate that. If you think I got something wrong, or if you disagree with me about something, feel free to drop a comment below. And if you want to learn why Donald Trump is graded on such a huge curve, go ahead and watch that video on the screen now. And I will see you guys on the next one.